You're very happy. I'm very happy. And a lot of the longtime fans are thrilled that this young girl has come to take the lead as the
Finally,
spare. It is out
finally.
now on Max. It is out now on Cartoon Network. Oh
Yep,
my
yep, yep,
God.
yep.
Welcome to the YouNeek Show, where we talk about all things YouNeek Studios, African geekdom, and the business of creators.
Hello. Welcome back to the YouNeek Show. My name is Roy Okukwe. I am the CEO of YouNeek Studios. I am also now the executive producer, showrunner, and creator of the Iyanu series, which
Loud
we're going to
beat.
be talking about. We were going to be talking about in detail a lot. But yeah. What about you, co-host? Go ahead and introduce
Yeah, my
yourself.
name is Jay Agbaje. I am the founder of the Niger Nerds and super fan of Unique Studios content, and very lucky to be here talking about a show that I'm a huge fan of that's about to be a phenomenon globally, in my opinion.
You,
As long
oh
as people
yes,
get out there and
amen to
watch it,
that.
that's what we want to
Amen
see.
to that.
You're very happy. I'm very happy. And a lot of the longtime fans are thrilled that this young girl has come to take the lead as the
Finally,
spare. It is out
finally.
now on Max. It is out now on Cartoon Network. Oh
Yep,
my
yep, yep,
God.
yep. Yes.
Finally happened, man.
Finally, I mean,
Congratulations.
dude, you don't understand. I think I've said this in so many different interviews how grateful I am to the fan base. I sit here as somebody who has done how many Kickstarters now? I think 10. All of them successful. All of
Very.
them probably successful within the first 3 to 7 days.
Mhm.
Um, and also being able to partner with so many Nigerian artists. I wouldn't be here without them today as well. So it's a combination of that. Obviously, my family. This has been when it says it takes a village, literally it has taken a village of hundreds of people to get Iyanu to this point. So very grateful here. And I wanted to take a moment to just say thank you to everyone who in a very small way, big way, medium way, if that's even a word, has added to the success of Unique Studios overall and now Iyanu.
I have to say, on every social media channel I'm on, and I'm on a lot, I've seen it in one way, shape, or form. I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen people talking about it in Facebook groups. I've seen
Yeah.
people talking about it on TikTok. I've seen people commenting and talking about it on Instagram. The congratulations. Everybody who has seen it has talked
Yeah.
about how good the storytelling is, how good the animation is.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there's a review that's done by this. I think it was Screen Rant. The Screen Rant review.
Yes. Yeah.
Really, I've been a fan of Screen Rant for years. I used to read them back like 11, 12 years ago, back when I was in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, when I saw that, it was a part of me that just felt very like, oh my God, he's done it. Oh my God, they've done it. Screen Rant
I've
review.
made it.
It was really good. It was a very lovely, wonderful review. I
Yeah.
think the line that stuck with me was when they talked about if it could maintain the momentum it achieves, right? By
Yeah.
the episode 3, by the end of episode 3.
Yeah.
Because I saw the first episode, the second episode, without spoiling anything, things really
Mm-hmm.
pick up. And by episode
Yeah.
3, like, oh, and
Yeah.
if it could maintain that, momentum, it could become Cartoon Network's natural answer. And I thought this was a huge statement to the
Yeah.
cultural behemoth that is the Avatar franchise. What do you think about that? What do
Yeah.
you think about that? When you read that,
I
how did
mean, this. I mean, overall, the review that they gave was extremely humbling. Very fair, and they went into more details than I even thought that they would be going into.
right?
I think obviously we all know how big Avatar is. I'm a huge fan of Avatar. I've said it, so many different times, and to be compared to that,
Mm,
um, to me, it is something that I don't want to use the word validate because, to me, my validation was getting to be able to be in a position where as creator and showrunner, I was able to express myself the way I wanted to through my storytelling.
mm.
That was all the validation that I needed. But honestly, I would be lying if I said it didn't mean a lot to me as somebody who is a huge fan of Avatar. For them to be able to make that
Make the
comparison,
comparison. Yeah.
I thought it was I thought it was, again, like I said, it was a fantastic review. But that quote itself, that made, I think that made my entire day.
The show is very deep. It has
Yes.
multiple layers in the storytelling. There's so much in there. You can watch it again and see things that you kind of missed the first time. Especially if you're looking at the background characters, the art design, the cultural depictions, all of that. And as a guy who himself is Yoruba, has Yoruba blood, you're watching it thinking, wow, this is really good. As somebody who's read the comic book, I was a little curious how you guys decided what to pick and put in and what not to put in, because translating from one medium to the other is always going to be a challenge, right? So I'm looking at it thinking, okay, what can I recognize? What am I seeing that's being highlighted here? Talk a little bit about the challenges you kind of went through in trying to produce the episode and making sure that it landed properly and hooked people early without giving away too much.
Yeah, I mean, so this is part of the reason why I wanted to come back, to do this podcast on on the YouNeek show, is because, I want to give, without spoilers, obviously, I want to give the fans and people that are yet to be fans a sort of like a peek into the curtain on just what it takes to produce this type of animation. Because a lot of times, like when you see these shows being marketed, you don't see a lot of the creators actually come and talk about the process. And I think people like to get a peek behind the curtain. So for this episode, right, there's a lot of backstory in the books, right? There's just a whole lot. And the problem with trying to fit all of that, especially into a pilot, you have to remember in episode 1, with a pilot, you're trying to get the viewer hooked. You're trying to get all the characters, you're trying to get all their story points, like all the plots, all the beats. You're trying to put it all out there in a way where by the end of the episode, people are like, oh, I'm interested, I'm invested, I want to see what happens next. But the biggest issue with the pilot is trying to figure out what not to put in it. Because it's a fine line between, I want to get people hooked, I want to get them excited, but then also not giving so much away by the time they get to the end, they're like, oh, I've seen it all, or where can this possibly go? So one of the biggest challenges, and this wasn't even just with Brandon, but even the writer's room in terms of adapting the graphic novel, was how much is too much for us. Because again, you have to understand the comic book medium and the animation medium, they're two very different things. And each one has their strengths and weaknesses. You get a comic book, the reader can flip through at their own pace, they can put it down, go away, and come back. When somebody's watching a TV show, you have 22 minutes in our case in one episode to get them hooked and be like, okay, I want to see the next one.
As a medium, I think one of the other things that was really cool for me was seeing it come to life. It made it more vivid. Because, for example, I'm reading the graphic novel and I'm seeing the images of the city. So you're trying to look at this world that's been created. But then there's scenes where the camera perspective, for example, one part where she's running and then the camera perspective tilts back. And it's like, oh my God, how big is this wall? Like you start to wonder. Because like at first you're thinking these animals can be able to climb or jump above then you realize, nah, man, this wall that's multi-story.
Yeah, that's a big wall.
Talk a little bit about that, because I think that's one of the things that people were curious about, the comparisons to some other shows that have walls. I'm not naming names, but the whole questions of, okay, so the city, you got layers of walls, the inner wall, the outer wall, she gets. And like, what kind of wall is so high quality yet? You have little streams underneath it. I was looking at the whole thing and thinking, oh my God, it's a good thing these creatures, creatures, don't come after the people through those walls. But then in other parts, you see people outside. The walls seem fragmenting a little, like they're fragmented a little bit. Able to, you see the snakes just looking at people. There's so much that's happening.
Through the cracks.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the set. Not set design. The art design for the scenes that everything is taking place, the building design, all of that, the culture.
It's definitely one thing that I wanted people to take away from this episode was just how massive the walls of Elu are. But for us, the thing that inspired the walls was actually the Great Walls of Benin. And a lot of people don't know, I think I've said this before on the podcast, a lot of people don't know that the walls of Benin are actually longer than the Great Walls of China, right? I mean, that's just on its own, that's a massive statement. And this is factual stuff. You can go and research it. When people get to watch episode 1, the walls are featured a lot. And for us, it was really about trying to figure out, okay, here's the reality of the walls of Benin, but we're still in a fictional world. How do we take that and make it our own? Are there ways that we can exaggerate a little bit? Are there ways where we can make it fit into our own lore? Yeah, it's really cool to be able to have this sort of like confluence of creativity, authenticity, culture, history, mythology, all come together. And like I said, one of the physical manifestations of that is the walls of Benin that we took as inspiration becoming the walls of Elu. And I can't wait for people to see just how much cool stuff we've done with that in episode 1. And also the entire season, actually.
What advice do you have for other creators who are looking at you thinking, God, when?
I've asked that question so many times. The reason why part of the reason why I do this podcast is because I know there's a lot of creators that follow me. And in the past I've created courses, I've done free YouTube videos. So I encourage you, if you're struggling and you need help, just either go on my website, check out the blog, or check out some of the other episodes on the podcast as well. There's a lot of free help that both of us have given creators. But I know what it's like to be on the other side of this, right? Like watching somebody talk about what they've achieved and the success, and and feeling like, man, when is it going to be my turn? And it's one of the reasons why, like, for me, like, I always try to encourage people and tell them the truth. Like, it took me 2008 when I first released my first animated short film, right? So it has taken me almost 20 years to get to this point. But one of the things that I always try to tell people is, like, you have to do what you have with what you have to do what you can with what you have where you are. Right. This is a quote I heard a very long time. I believe it's by Les Brown that said this. And the moment I heard that, it encouraged me to not always feel like I had to do something big to be recognized, but with the little small thing that God has put in my hand, right? Like, what is it that I can do with this at this point in time, right? And for me back then, I had a little bit of money. In 2008, I hired a studio overseas and I created my first short film. I learned from it. I used that to promote myself. And from the publicity that I got, I took that into my next thing. Then I went to comics. Then I created 10 comics. Then I started pitching for animation. Then I got into development. Then I got greenlit. And now here I am. Right. But again, it all started with the small thing that I had in my hand. I did something, I put it out on the world, learned from it, reiterated, and I never looked back.
Awesome. Do what you can where you are with the little you have. That's yeah. That should be a t-shirt. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I know we've touched on all this, but I'm sure there's a lot of questions about Iyanu. I'm sure there's a lot of questions about YouNeek Studios. Leave your questions in the comments. Leave your questions on the social media channel. You're seeing this. Please share, please like, please put this out there, because this show needs your support. And not only that, you're going to enjoy it. Join us for this ride. Thank you. Roy, you want to say your goodbyes? Let them know where they can find you on your social medias. They can go find more of this.
At YouNeek Studios on all platforms, every single one at YouNeek Studios. Follow us to be the first to know about when other big things are coming through. So definitely check us out. And like you said, Jay, put your questions in the comments and we'll try and answer it in the next podcast.
Absolutely. You can find me, or you can find my group at the Niger Nerds. You can also find me on Nuru Neo Guru on all social media. Take care.
All right, folks. Peace out.